Examples of prime minister who faced death penalty. In the world of politics, power can be both a blessing and a curse. Some leaders rise to the highest office, only to fall from grace in the most tragic way: execution. Today, we uncover the shocking stories of prime ministers whose lives ended on the gallows, by firing squad, or under the judgment of war tribunals. These are leaders who faced the death penalty. Sheikh Hasina. It's not about a death sentence, but it shows how even modern prime ministers can face extreme political and legal pressure. Sheikh Hasina, one of Bangladesh's longest-serving prime ministers, has been a central figure in the country's politics for decades. During the 2007 to 2008 military-backed caretaker government, she faced numerous charges, including corruption and abuse of power. International observers and human rights groups questioned the fairness of these cases, arguing they were politically motivated attempts to sideline her from politics. She was briefly arrested, and several cases followed her for years. Although none of the charges resulted in a death penalty, they highlight how legal systems can become powerful tools in political conflict. Sheikh Hasina eventually returned to power through elections, but her legal battles remain one of the most intense challenges faced by a modern prime minister. Her case stands as a reminder that political pressure and legal confrontation continue even in today's era, not always ending in execution, but often reshaping a nation's entire political landscape. Adnan Menderes. Our first story begins in Turkey. Adnan Menderes became the country's first democratically elected prime minister in 1950. His early years were full of hope. He expanded freedoms, improved the economy, and brought new energy into Turkish politics. But over time, tensions grew. Critics accused his government of suppressing the press, targeting political opponents, and misusing state power. By 1960, protests were spreading across the country, and the military claimed the government was threatening the nation's stability. On May 27th, the military staged a coup. Menderes was arrested and taken to Yasiada Island, where he faced a series of highly publicized trials. He was found guilty on several charges, including constitutional violations and abuse of power. On September 17, 1961, Adnan Menderes was executed by hanging. Decades later, Turkey officially restored his honor. But his execution remains one of the most painful moments in Turkish democratic history. Zulfikar Ali Bhutto. Zulfikar Ali Bhutto was one of Pakistan's most influential leaders. He became prime minister in the 1970s, introduced wide-reaching reforms, and built a massive political following. But in 1977, a military coup led by General Zia-ul-Haq removed him from power. Bhutto was arrested and charged with ordering the assassination of a political opponent. His supporters insisted the evidence was weak and the trial was politically motivated. Despite appeals from international leaders and human rights groups, the court upheld the death sentence. On April 4, 1979, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto was hanged in Rawalpindi jail. His execution remains one of Pakistan's most controversial events. Even today, many Pakistanis believe he was unjustly killed for political reasons. Hideki Tojo. Next, we move to Japan during the end of World War II. Hideki Tojo served as prime minister from 1941 to 1944 and was one of Japan's central wartime leaders. He authorized major military decisions, including the attack on Pearl Harbor. After Japan surrendered in 1945, Tojo became one of the primary individuals held responsible for the war's devastation. He was arrested by Allied forces and tried by the International Military Tribunal for the Far East. The tribunal convicted him of war crimes and crimes against humanity. On December 23, 1948, Hideki Tojo was executed by hanging. His death marked the symbolic closing of Japan's militaristic era and the beginning of a new political chapter under Allied occupation. Imre Nagy. Imre Nagy's story is tied to one of the most dramatic uprisings of the Cold War. In 1956, Nagy became the Prime Minister of Hungary and attempted reforms that challenged Soviet control. He announced multi-party elections, greater freedom, and even declared Hungary's intention to leave the Warsaw Pact. The Soviet Union responded with overwhelming force. Tanks rolled into Budapest, the revolution was crushed, and Nagy sought refuge in an embassy. He was tricked into leaving under a false promise of safety and immediately arrested. In 1958, Imre Nagy was secretly tried for treason and executed by hanging. His burial took place in an unmarked grave, under strict secrecy. Decades later, after the fall of communism, Nagy was reburied with full honors and recognized as a national hero. Ion Antonescu. Ion Antonescu ruled Romania as both prime minister and dictator during World War II. His government aligned with Nazi Germany and implemented harsh policies, including the persecution of Jews and Roma. In 1944, King Michael I led a coup that removed Antonescu from power and brought Romania to the Allied side. Antonescu was arrested and later tried by a Romanian People's Tribunal. He was convicted of war crimes, crimes against humanity, and other wartime offenses. On June 1, 1946, Ion Antonescu was executed by firing squad near Jilava prison. His legacy remains deeply controversial. Some view him as a nationalist leader, while others see him as a dictator responsible for mass suffering. Imran Khan. Punishment or murder? Imran Khan, former Prime Minister of Pakistan, has faced non-stop legal battles since his removal in 2022. Dozens of cases, multiple convictions, and time in jail. The courts say it's justice, but his supporters insist it's political persecution. The fear grew after the 2022 assassination attempt on his life. Since then, many believe he isn't just being punished, but silenced. There is no confirmed evidence that anyone is trying to kill him. But the intense legal pressure, his imprisonment, and the past attack create an environment where supporters worry about his safety. Punishment or something more? In Pakistan's polarized politics, the answer depends on who you ask. But one thing is clear: Imran Khan's fate is tightly tied to the future of the country itself. Conclusion. These stories show how quickly powerful leaders can fall. In tough times, justice can be used for revenge, and popular leaders can suddenly become prisoners. Some people see them as guilty, others see them as heroes. One thing is clear: politics is risky, and the path to power is never safe.